Hey, I recently observed a very toxic human dynamic between couples that can very easily cause traders to lose focus and to end up getting into a very poor mental state before their trading window. This can happen very often if you are living with a spouse or a partner. I guess that's why a lot of successful traders are operating solo. This is a psychological deflection tactic called meta arguing. You're arguing about things outside of the actual argument. And once you let your partner bait you or trick you into meta arguing, you lose the day. You're going to spend hours going about in circles with no resolution. It will ultimately cost you your entire day. You're going to waste effort, you're going to waste your breath, you're going to waste your energy. It's going to cost you your psychological capital, and it will most likely ruin your trading for the day. Which is to say, if you get involved in meta arguing, you're probably not going to have any good trades for the day. So, let me explain. Here's how it works. When the stakes get high, that's when traders like us, we thrive. But not for most people. When there's going to be a major life transition, and when it's happening, stress levels are going to spike. So people with weak psychology, they're going to panic. They're going to be anxious. They're going to tell you that they're anxious, they're worried, they're concerned. And they're going to lose a foothold on reality. So instead of dealing with the actual problem itself, which is a huge life decision, they're going to manufacture a conflict about the process around it. So you and your partner, you could be in the middle of a discussion of which country you're going to move to, or which house you're going to buy, stuff like that. And then something happens. You can see it in her eyes. She snaps. And you know when she snaps, that's it. All logic goes out of the window. Suddenly, you are no longer discussing about the actual issue at all. You're no longer discussing about the move. You're no longer discussing about the thing you started off talking about. The logistics of the move, the finances, things like that. You're no longer discussing about that. This all disappears. Instead, what she's going to do is she's going to start attacking how you communicate. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you have experienced this before. She's going to say, hey, your tone is wrong. Oh, you aren't explaining it clear enough. Oh, you should have said this earlier. Then it wouldn't have caused me to react this way. Stuff like that. She's going to talk about everything about the way you deliver the message. And they're going to constantly move the goalposts so that you can never win. It's a desperate control mechanism to avoid dealing with the actual problem itself. And you are no longer trying to solve a problem at this point. At this point, you're just being put on trial for your phrasing, for the way you express yourself. Anything you say could be used against you. And the most fascinating part, they will blame this behavior on you, making you the cause of them doing all this, or external variables. So, if you have been in a long relationship, say years ago, they might say, oh, they're only acting this way because they're stressed about career, or they're stressed about their lack of career. Fast forward today, maybe your spouse is making good money. Variables have changed. They have a career, they have colleagues, they have the independence, and yet, during high stress decisions, the exact same toxic behavior appears. So the external shell has improved, right? But the person inside is still largely the same. Still that same person talking about the way you are expressing yourself. Meta-arguing, everything but the issue itself. And why do you think they do this? Well, because changing the external variables, changing the external shell of the person does not fix a broken internal psychology. When a person is weak mentally, it really doesn't matter if they are doing well in life or not. It doesn't matter if they are making good money or not. Although sometimes making good money can cover up these internal issues because they solve a lot of things by just paying, I suppose. Right? So the default response to stress that all these people with weak psychologies do, is that they deflect and then they meta-argue. So if you are the one, I'm talking to you, my friend, if you are the one on the receiving end of this kind of behavior, you are falling right into this trap. You start explaining yourself better. You start apologizing for your tone. You start saying the right things. You try to adjust the way you speak so that you don't step on the wrong things. You try to appease them. You're wasting your energy. I can tell you this. You do this for 5 years, it's gonna chip away your psychology. You're gonna forget who you are after 5 years. You cannot logic your way out of a meta argument because the argument was never about logic. It is about them refusing to carry the weight of the actual situation and making you the one responsible for it. Making the way you are talking the thing responsible for their behavior. So all this is just going to be distractions to your trading. You cannot get involved in such meta-arguing. I tell you, it's going to ruin your day. It's going to ruin your trading session. Especially if you are in the same house or apartment with this spouse. Even if you explain it perfectly, they will find fault with your facial expression. If your expression is neutral, they will find fault with your timing. They're just basically manufacturing a conflict with the process. They're making a problem with the process in order to avoid taking responsibility for reality. The stress of the situation is simply too heavy for them to carry, so forget it. Don't try to make them assume responsibility. Just take it all on your shoulders. I know, okay, if whatever I'm saying doesn't really make sense, it means you haven't met a person like this. But if you live with a spouse multiple years, I've observed so many, when you see this happens, then the things that I just mentioned would actually make sense. So here's the conclusion here. Don't engage in the meta-argument. Stop trying to hit a goalpost. Call out the tactic, tell them what they're doing, and tell them it isn't working. When the argument shifts from the actual problem to how you are communicating, you need to start putting a boundary here. step away, withdraw your emotional capital. You can't fix a problem with someone who's determined to argue with you, and they will find any reason, even the way you speak.